Welcome back to the South Stands, everybody. I'm going to start that again. So I heard some crashing in the background there. What's all the crashing back
there? That was
me
sitting down.
Sitting on your bike rack.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in my rocking chair.
See, I think that would be great to have on the podcast right there.
I literally started in the intro, and then I heard this crash, and that was Paige apparently mounting into the rocking chairs. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the South Stands, everybody. I'm your host, Zach Moore, dialing in from San Francisco. And today I'm very happy to be joined by, in the Eastern time zone, Chad, James, and Matt. And then in the Mountain time zone, Paige. You're going to hear from them shortly. Tonight we are previewing the Miami of Ohio game coming up on Saturday between Ohio State and Miami of Ohio. They're the guys. Are they the Red Hawks? Is that right? Miami of Ohio Red Hawks. I think that's
yeah.
Yes, Red Hawks.
Redskins.
Red Hawks.
Yes, now it's the Red Hawks.
Okay. The Red Hawks come into this game 1-2. They have a 38-14 loss in their opener at Iowa, followed by a 48-17 win over Tennessee Tech. And then last week, a 35-13 loss to Ohio State's Week 2 opponent, Cincinnati. Miami doesn't really do anything particularly well. They come into the game 128th nationally in total offense, 115th in the passing game, and 116 running the ball nationally. They come in 78th in total defense nationally at 389 yards a game. So not a very good team. They don't really do anything particularly well. Before I start getting predictions from you guys, it looks like there was a key injury mentioned in Ryan Day's press conference for the Buckeyes. Tyreek Smith actually has a new injury that he's dealing with. We all thought maybe he left the game last week just as a precautionary measure. From the groin surgery he had during the offseason. Apparently he's dealing with a new injury. Of course, they don't disclose what that is. And Day said that Tyreek Smith will be reevaluated after today's practice. And we'll see the injury report when it comes out tomorrow, whether he's on it. And then, of course, if we're still down Jonathan Cooper, we could be a little light at defensive end for this game, although I don't expect it's going to have much of an impact. So why don't we go around the horn with predictions? Chad, I'm going to start with you. How do you see the game playing out, and why don't you give me a score prediction?
Well, it's good to be on podcast with my boys. This game is it's one of those fluff games that the SEC has at the end of the year, but we've got a third game of the season. I don't see this. I mean, I see the score probably being about 62-3.
Okay.
We're going to see some of the younger guys in. And Dave made a great statement, I think, yesterday in his press conference with regards to the fact that redshirting the freshmen, he's like, if they can contribute right now, they're going to play. I think we're going to see guys like Henry Miller, a lot of the young guys come in and play an integral part in this game.
Great.
But I think he's going to run up the score. I say I'm going to go with 62-3.
62-3. All right, I like that. Hey, Jimmy, why don't we go? Have you go next? How do you see the game playing out, and give us your score prediction?
Well, being the nice guy that I am, Zach, I don't think Ryan's going to throttle these guys. I just don't think he really wants to embarrass an Ohio team that's really coming in for a payday. I could be wrong, of course, but I see it being 45-10. We can call that throttling. I just don't see a 63-3 or whatever Chad just predicted.
62-3, all right.
62-3, thank you. So 45-10 still it's a beatdown, but I just don't think you want to embarrass another team that is really just helping you clean up for the rest of the season and giving them a nice paycheck to take the bus ride home.
Well, they weren't exactly polite to Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, but yeah, 45-10 seems pretty civilized, I guess.
But everyone hates Cincinnati.
A lot.
Hey, Matt, what do you think? How do you see the game playing out, and give us your score prediction?
So this game is what I call a clubber lang game because the prediction is pain.
I love it. Pain.
But this is going to be pretty. They're going to walk it very easily on both sides of the ball. I would almost go out on a limb and say there's two scoring touchdowns from the D. And I'm going to go with 54-3.
54-3.
Nice.
I like it. I like it.
Like it.
All right, PBH, what do you think?
Following up the Clubber Lang, I love it. That's a tough act. I think Jimmy's right. I don't think he runs it up on him. I wish he would. I'm still fucking bent out of shape, being a triple legacy for the Miami of Ohio. I couldn't fucking get in that stupid school, but I guess I'm over it, 25 years later.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. I mean, Jesus Christ, my grandfather went there. My mother went there. My sister went there. It's really an indictment of what a horrible, horrible student I was. But, I mean, and something Plummer said, like, why would you burn redshirt guys for this game also? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I mean, I think guys are going to play, right? I think you'd be surprised to see, the starters, unless something terribly goes wrong after the first series, coming out of the half. But I think it would just be the guys that have already seen the field. So I don't know. Prediction score. This game is just more annoying than anything. So I'll give it 48-2.
48. So they're going to safety. 48-2.
The deuce. The big deuce call.
Nice.
All right, I like it. 48-2. All right, so before I give mine, I actually have a couple of other predictions I have to deliver on behalf of, first of all, our comrade TG, who couldn't be with us tonight. He sees the game playing out 56-9, Ohio State. He says no starters play in the second half, and I tend to agree. I could see that as well. We're not going to see a lot of the starters in the second half. My father-in-law's in town. He's visiting, and he's from Southern Ohio, near Cincinnati, and is a big Ohio State fan, lifelong Ohio State fan. He wanted to give a prediction, so I'm gonna give his view on the game. He sees Ohio State winning this one 63-10. He likes 200 yards rushing from Dobbins and 3 rushing TDs. He sees the defense forcing 3 turnovers and coming up with 5 sacks. So I think he expects another big game from Chase Young. So I like it. He even got down to some specific predictions on stats. As far as I'm concerned, funny enough, Sloan, before you even gave your prediction, I wrote mine down, and I had Ohio State tallying 54 as well. But I think the Miami first team is going to move the ball a little bit on the Ohio State second and third teamers in the second half and get up to some cheap scores. 54-13 is my prediction. And yeah, man, let's move on to Nebraska. Let's move on to the real kind of meat of the schedule, so we can really find out what this team's about. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm sorry. Before we move on, someone was making some lurch sounds, so I didn't hear what TG's prediction was.
56-9, Ohio State. He doesn't think the starters are going to make it into the second half, that they'll be in street clothes, shoulder pads off by the half.
Hey, Zach, is Timmy, is he at a tennis tournament tonight?
I don't know. Either that or a wine tasting. I'm not sure.
Oh,
yeah. Cluster time.
Hey, does anybody know what cluster time?
Whole cluster, baby.
Does anybody know what the line, where the line stands in this game? Is it still at 40? I think it was. I think it was Ohio State.
I think I think it's at 41.5 now.
So the game I'm most intrigued to watch for the entire weekend actually is the Michigan-Wisconsin matchup, and I think that's Fox's. If I'm not mistaken, that's Fox's noon kick, the early game. And we want to see. I personally want to see who Ohio State, who's going to match Ohio State or come close to matching Ohio State in Big Ten play this year. Wisconsin's off to a good start. Michigan obviously very shaky in the opener against Army. The game's in Madison. I'm reading that Michigan is very banged up at running back. It doesn't sound like Zach Charbonnet is going to play, and I think they may be down 1 or 2 other backs as well. I've read that Shea Patterson's also a little dinged up. So
Zach,
does anybody know the line in this game? Anybody?
So Zach, so if what I read, like, if Harbaugh pulls off this win, it'll be the first time that he's beaten a top, I think Wisconsin's 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
It'll be the first time that he's beaten a top 20 team since he's been at Ohio State or Michigan.
Oh my God!
Like,
is that a top 20 team?
Blows my mind.
That does blow my mind. Is that a top 20 team on the road or just top 20 team period, regardless of home or away?
You know what? I'm not quite sure, but I think it's like overall since he's been
either way
at Michigan.
Either way, not an impressive stat at all.
Yeah, the team's also hurting at coach too.
He's been injured. He's been injured since he got there. So I thought I read that Wisconsin. It was Wisconsin -3. Does anybody have any idea of the line in this one? I don't have the line in front of me.
It's like that. It's 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay, gotcha. All right, hey Chad, why don't we start with you? How do you see the game playing out? If you have any thoughts on that, and why don't you give us a score prediction?
I honestly, I think Michigan's going to take backseat of the boss in this one. Harbaugh is like, this team they don't have that many great athletes.
Mm-hmm.
They have Donovan Peoples-Jones, like Shea Patterson. I'm not impressed with that kid.
No, me neither.
The games that I've watched, which was very few plays, kid was overthrowing ball. I mean, he's not a blue chip quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Michigan is going to take the back seat on this one again, and all the fans up there are just going to be like, that kid that they show on ESPN every week, like hands on the forehead. I say Wisconsin 27, Michigan 23.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you do see it playing out as a pretty close game, pretty competitive game.
I think it's going to be pretty competitive, but Michigan's going to come off in the losing end.
I like it. Jimmy, how do you see this one playing out?
It's a little different. I'm a little conflicted thinking that Michigan has 2 weeks to prepare for this game.
Oh, that's a good point.
But I'm not impressed with their coaching ability anyway. And they are going on the road to Wisconsin. They're lucky it's a noon kickoff. I see Wisconsin controlling the ball and running it down Michigan's throat. And I think Wisconsin's defense has improved from last year. I see them taking it 28-10 with Michigan making a run at the end.
Wow.
But not being able to make it a game.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Solid. I like that. Mr. Sloan.
Yeah, I don't, this is like a pretty big marquee game, yet they're putting them on at noon. Just that's the respect that they get, because they don't deserve to be in the afternoon. Let's get this shit out of the way.
Brilliant.
I haven't watched either team. What I've read about, because I've been feasting on Ohio State ball, which is like a 95 Grand Cru, and I wouldn't waste my time sipping Mad Dog, which both of these teams are. So I think what I've read is Wisconsin's gotten better at throwing the ball, and I think that's going to be the difference, because they've always been great running. And
right.
I think it's going to be 24-13, the Badgers, because I just don't think the Wolverines have the coaching and the players to win outside their own stadium.
Okay. And
Nice.
Paige, how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I don't see myself playing out going behind Sloan anymore in these fucking prediction podcasts. That's the first thing. This game, honestly, I just don't care. I'll bet you I'll shit you not. I bet you it's 13-10, or maybe even 5-2. And I'll say Harbaugh pulls it off with a last-second field goal. It'll be tied 2-2 going into the fourth quarter, and Michigan kicks the field goal to pull out the big W 5-2, and we can all move on to real football.
We've got a winner.
We got a winner. There you go, Jim. Way to go, Jimbo.
5-2. The Brewers over the Tigers. I've got. I don't think there'll be a ton of scoring in this game either. Neither team is dynamic in the passing game, and I don't know how Michigan's actually going to move the ball at all if they're really that banged up at running back. And I don't like them in this game. I didn't like what I saw in the Army game. And Wisconsin's at home. James, you do make a good point though about the 2 weeks to prepare for Michigan. But did they use that time wisely or not? I think that's an important question. I like Wisconsin in this one. A low-scoring game. Wisconsin pulls away 21-9 Badgers.
Nice, Z.
That's the way I see it. I think the rest of the country is going to be pretty unimpressed, and Ohio State will continue to distinguish itself as the cream of the crop in the Big Ten.
Like Stoner said, it's a nooner, so like not many people will be tuning in.
All right, fellas. Hey, not a bad effort.
Is that 3 field goals?
That's 3. Yeah, 3 field goals or a touchdown to save. It doesn't matter. As Paige said, it doesn't really matter how they get there.
2-2 going into overtime.
Yeah. No, I actually
fourth quarter.
I'm actually much more interested to watch this game than Paige is, but I don't see a ton of offense, and I think Michigan continues to struggle, and I think the pressure continues to mount on Harbaugh because it feels palpable this year. It feels like there really is. The honeymoon is clearly over, and I think the fans are starting to, the natives are starting to get restless.
Z, what do you think? There's one game that I'm like really interested in this week, and it's like the Irish and Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. It's
Notre Dame and Georgia.
Now that game's that game's in between the hedges, if not mistaken, right? That's at Georgia.
Yeah,
it is. Okay,
it is.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame should not even be allowed to be considered for the college football playoff ever again.
Yeah,
I mean, and I see Georgia spanking them.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be much of a game either. I think that's going to be a tough one for Notre Dame to stay in. Georgia looks like one of those 6 that we identified in the last pod, right? One of those 6 teams in the country that are pretty clearly head and shoulders above the rest of the country. I don't see that one playing out well. Danny, you guys want to make a prediction on that game, or do we want to leave that one alone? Chime in if you... No? All right.
No prediction, but like what's actually better for Ohio State? Is it that Georgia wins that game or Notre Dame wins that game?
Yeah.
Oh, good point, Paige.
Well, I haven't seen the rest of Notre Dame's schedule. Whoa. What was that?
Yes.
Was that a vibrator? What was that? It sounds like there's some kind
find
of appliance there.
Just right there's an unidentified sound.
Oh my God.
I think so Georgia, like if they win the game, like the SEC, like they're gonna face Alabama in the SEC championship. So I mean, I think regardless, I really don't care. Like I don't think it really makes any difference who wins the game.
I mean, Notre Dame was a problem for us last year, right? With and they really they basically took the Big Ten spot in the playoff. So I think I'd rather see them out of the mix. I haven't seen the rest of their schedule. Yeah. I know they have to go to Michigan, but I don't trust Michigan to win that game. So I'd like to see Notre Dame kind of eliminated from the mix, and Georgia has to run an SEC gauntlet.
I think Notre Dame's much better than Michigan. I wouldn't anticipate Michigan pulling that game off.
Yeah,
I agree that.
I agree.
But
I think they're both.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Georgia's schedule is, but they probably not only Alabama. Don't they have to play LSU? Our boy Joe Burrow, he could take our second spot in the playoffs. So I think it makes sense to me to have Notre Dame go down in this game, and then Georgia certainly would have the tougher schedule. But I don't know. It's also good to see some northern schools,
I mean, does
an SEC squad.
So if Notre Dame beats Georgia, then Michigan beats Notre Dame, and then we trounce on Michigan, wouldn't that help us out in a big picture way? Or no?
You know what, Sloan? That's a good point.
That's true. Gosh, I don't know. It's so early in the season. I can't even start to begin to process this, playoff positioning. But I guess, you always look back at it, right? There are these early season games that really don't seem to, you wouldn't think would factor in because there's still so much football left to play. But then you go back and look at it, kind of like in 2016 when we went on the road and beat Oklahoma. And that win at Oklahoma really is what propelled Ohio State into the playoff over Penn State. And it's what allowed Ohio State to overcome losing their one loss on the road at Penn State and not winning, and not being a conference champion. So, I guess you do kind of have to pay attention and really think these things through and how they might play out, at the end of the season for playoff positioning. Are there any other games we want to talk about? Any other comments related to the Ohio State game, Ohio State Miami game, or Michigan?
I would just like
Wisconsin?
before we end the podcast, I would love for Sloaner to do the Clubber Lang pain.
Prediction. Hey.
All right. Hey.
All right, I'm good, man.
All right, good. On that note, why don't we wrap it up? We're right at about 23 minutes, guys. That's not a bad effort for midweek on a Thursday. I know it's late out there on the East Coast for you guys. So why don't we'll call it a night, and we will resume on Sunday to recap the Miami game.
All right.
Look forward to it.
Friday.
All right, fellas. Have a great night.
All right,
Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.